The Akhenaten-Moses connection, exploring Egyptian influence on early Israelite monotheism. The theory linking Akhenaten, the Egyptian pharaoh, to Moses, the central figure in the Hebrew Bible, is a fascinating proposition. It suggests that Akhenaten's monotheistic reforms influenced the development of early Israelite monotheism. This idea, while controversial, holds significant implications for our understanding of religious history. The debate surrounding this connection is complex and multifaceted. It touches upon questions of cultural exchange, religious innovation, and the very origins of monotheistic thought. This exploration will examine the potential influence of Akhenaten and Egyptian culture on Moses and the formation of early Israelite monotheism. Akhenaten reigned in Egypt during the mid-14th century BCE, specifically from approximately 1353 to 1336 BCE. This period is crucial for understanding the potential for cultural and religious exchange. His reign marked a radical departure from traditional Egyptian polytheism. The traditional timeline places Moses in the 13th century BCE. This time frame positions him relatively close to Akhenaten's reign. The proximity of these timelines suggests the possibility of cultural transmission between Egypt and the Levant. The debate over the exact dates of both Akhenaten's reign and Moses' life is ongoing. These discrepancies in dating can significantly impact the plausibility of the Akhenaten-Moses connection. Establishing a more precise chronology is essential for further investigation. The biblical accounts depict Moses as having been raised in the Egyptian court. This upbringing would have exposed him to Egyptian culture, religion, and political structures. This exposure is a key element in the argument for Egyptian influence. The Exodus narrative provides a framework for understanding the potential for Egyptian influence on the Israelites. It describes their departure from Egypt and their subsequent adoption of monotheism. This narrative is central to the formation of Israelite identity. Egyptian sources, such as the Amarna letters, offer valuable insights into the political and religious climate of Akhenaten's Egypt. These letters reveal the challenges Akhenaten faced in implementing his religious reforms. They also shed light on Egypt's interactions with neighboring regions. Akhenaten's religious reforms involved the suppression of traditional polytheism in Egypt. He promoted the worship of Aten, the sun disk, as the sole deity. This suppression was met with resistance from the traditional priesthood. Akhenaten established Aten as the supreme and only god in his religious system. This marked a significant departure from the polytheistic traditions of ancient Egypt. This shift towards monotheism is a key point of comparison with early Israelite religion. Atenism emphasized the worship of a single, universal god, Aten. This concept of a single, all-powerful deity is a striking parallel to the monotheistic beliefs of Judaism. This similarity has led some scholars to suggest a direct connection between the two religions. There are notable similarities between Atenism and the core tenets of Judaism. Both religions emphasize the importance of a single supreme being. Both also reject the worship of idols and multiple gods. The hymn to the Aten, a religious text from Akhenaten's reign, bears a resemblance to certain psalms in the Hebrew Bible. These similarities in language and imagery have been interpreted as evidence of cultural influence. However, the extent and nature of this influence remain a subject of debate. Despite the similarities, there are also significant differences in the nature of the deity between Atenism and Judaism. Aten was primarily associated with the sun disk, a physical manifestation of the divine. The God of Judaism, Yahweh, is more abstract and transcendent. Differences also exist in the rituals and ethical codes of Atenism and Judaism. Atenism focused on the worship of the sun disk and the royal family. Judaism emphasizes ethical behavior, social justice, and adherence to a set of laws. The visual layout of Akhenaten's city, Amarna, provides insights into the religious and political priorities of his reign. The city was designed to reflect the centrality of Aten in Akhenaten's religious system. Its unique architecture and artistic style set it apart from other ancient Egyptian cities. The sun disk imagery in Amarna is a prominent symbol of Aten. It represents the source of life and light. This imagery is pervasive throughout the city's art and architecture. The architectural layout of Amarna may have influenced later religious structures in the region. Some scholars have suggested that the city's design may have inspired the layout of later temples and religious sites. However, this connection remains speculative. Genetic studies on Egyptian mummies offer potential insights into the origins and migrations of ancient populations. These studies can help us understand the genetic makeup of the ancient Egyptians. They can also shed light on their relationships with other groups in the region. Exploring the origins of the Israelites through genetic links is a complex and challenging endeavor. Genetic studies can potentially reveal connections between the Israelites and other ancient populations. However, interpreting these findings requires careful consideration of historical and archaeological evidence. The limitations and inconclusiveness of current genetic studies must be acknowledged. Genetic data alone cannot definitively prove or disprove the Akhenaten-Moses connection. Further research is needed to establish more definitive connections. The need for further research to establish definitive connections between the ancient Egyptians and the Israelites is paramount. Future studies should focus on analyzing a wider range of genetic samples. They should also incorporate archaeological and historical data. Proponents of the Akhenaten-Moses connection argue that there are significant similarities between Atenism and early Israelite religion. They point to the shared emphasis on monotheism and the rejection of idolatry. They also highlight the potential for cultural exchange between Egypt and the Levant. Arguments based on historical and linguistic analysis are central to the debate. Scholars have examined the historical context of Akhenaten's reign and the Exodus narrative. They have also analyzed the linguistic similarities between Egyptian and Hebrew texts. The similarities between Atenism and early Israelite religion are often cited as evidence of a connection. These similarities include the concept of a single, supreme God and the rejection of polytheism. However, the extent and significance of these similarities are debated. Moses' potential exposure to Atenism during his upbringing in the Egyptian court is a key argument in favor of the connection. If Moses was indeed raised in the Egyptian court, he would have been exposed to Akhenaten's religious reforms. This exposure could have influenced his own religious beliefs. Opponents of the Akhenaten-Moses connection emphasize the significant differences between the two religions. They argue that Atenism and Judaism have fundamentally different conceptions of God. They also point to differences in rituals, ethical codes, and religious practices. The argument that similarities are superficial is a common criticism of the Akhenaten-Moses theory. Opponents argue that the similarities between Atenism and Judaism are not unique. They suggest that similar ideas can be found in other ancient religions. The Exodus narrative is seen by some as a unique expression of Israelite identity. They argue that the Exodus narrative is a foundational story that defines the Israelites as a distinct people. They believe that this narrative is not simply a reflection of Egyptian influence. The Akhenaten-Moses connection remains a complex and contested area of study. Despite decades of research, definitive proof remains elusive. The debate continues to generate scholarly discussion and public interest. The ongoing debate highlights the challenges of reconstructing ancient history. It also underscores the importance of considering multiple perspectives and sources of evidence. The lack of definitive proof does not diminish the value of exploring this connection. Comparative analysis and ongoing research are essential for advancing our understanding of this topic. By comparing Atenism and Judaism, we can gain insights into the evolution of religious thought. Further research may uncover new evidence that sheds light on the relationship between these two religions. The study of the Akhenaten-Moses connection offers valuable insights into the evolution of religious thought. It allows us to explore the ways in which religious ideas can be transmitted and transformed across cultures. It also encourages us to consider the complex interplay of history, religion, and culture. The potential for cultural exchange in the ancient world is a key theme in this debate. The Akhenaten-Moses connection highlights the interconnectedness of ancient societies. It reminds us that religious and cultural ideas can travel across geographical boundaries.